All right. Welcome to our Monday evening Sonder Social. We are going to work on our Wonder Journal prompt and our Wonder exercise from our journal. My name is Maya, and I am here in Denver, Colorado. Technically, I'm in a suburb of Denver, Aurora, but all our suburbs kind of blend together. You know how that is. And we had lovely 60s weather on the weekend. And then today it dropped down to like 30 degrees and we had some snow and it's cloudy and chilly, but it's supposed to be nice tomorrow. And I've heard by Sunday it's supposed to be back up to 70s. So welcome to spring and springtime in Colorado, right? But definitely loving longer daylight hours. Very, very excited for spring. And I saw lots of other folks were also very excited to see spring coming. So make sure, a couple housekeeping tips, make sure that you set your chat to everyone so that everybody can see your chat and not just the facilitator and stage manager here. And notice that sometimes if you're on an iPad or a phone, it will constantly keep switching back to the host and panelist. So you have to keep remembering to flip it back and forth, but no worries, no stress. Also like to remind folks that just by signing up and being here tonight, you are entered into the self-care gift raffle. So we do that once a month and we will, they'll send out an email to you if you're the winner. They usually announce it, but I'm never quite, sometimes it's in the weekly newsletter. Sometimes there's a monthly newsletter. So always kind of keep an eye out for your emails, which also I always want to remind folks, you should be getting emails from Silk and Sonder on a fairly regular basis. I think they usually send out at least 1 or 2 a week, sometimes with product information, sometimes with just different kinds of information. And yes, Stephanie, there have been people who won. I'll see if sometime I can get maybe a list and we can start to put some winners' names up there in there so you guys can see we actually do have winners. We're not just saying that. And you can also share pictures in Sonder Club. You can also share pictures in Instagram. And there's kind of that little tag in there too. But with the emails, make sure you check your spam filters that see it's not going in there. And if you have Gmail, sometimes it throws them into the promotions tab for some reason. So make sure you're checking in there and you are getting those emails because a lot of times there's very good information in there that you want to kind of keep an eye out for. So let's get started here. So as you know, we're here on the 21st day of March, right? Rapidly trucking right through the month. And our theme this month has been wonder. And this is a fun word because it can be either a verb or a noun. And a lot of folks have really been exploring that idea of what is wonder. Is it like, I wonder what the weather is going to be like tomorrow? Is it a sense of wonder at seeing something beautiful? All of those things. So it's been really fun kind of seeing how people have been personalizing this theme and really kind of running with it and seeing what kind of fun they can have with the theme of wonder. So tonight's agenda, we're going to have what I like to call a little wonder warm-up activity. And then we're going to work on page 15, which is the Wonder Journal. And then we're going to do our wonder exercise. And then we're going to close it out. So definitely going to be a lot of time for you to be writing. I'm not going to be talking a whole lot, which some people might be, oh, thank goodness. But I'll give a little bit of guidance at the beginning. I'll kind of pop in to check how people are doing. You're welcome to share in the chat as much or as little as you would like. Sometimes the chat goes by really fast. I think we have about 200 people here on the webinar. So sometimes that chat gets to rolling. Don't let it stress you out. Some people don't use the chat at all and they just use that whole time to write. Some people really enjoy using the chat as they're kind of thinking through. They will write prompts down on a sticky note. They'll write notes down on a sticky note. Right, Deborah says, I can't write and chat at the same time. I'm right there with you. So sometimes they'll just like jot little notes down on the sticky note. And then after the social, they kind of go and transfer and spend some time writing. So this is your time, right? This is your time to spend some time with the journal, fill in, maybe these pages have been blank for you for most of the month, and just really take some time to be able to spend time with yourself, right? This is really a great way to show, is that self-care. right? Great way to do that. So let's get into our Wonder warm-up activity. So if you're in Sonder Club, you may have noticed we always have those little polls. Sometimes they're kind of little funny polls or something like that. Yesterday's poll actually was, would you rather have someone, I think it was like, would you rather have someone give you time, the gift of time, the gift of money? And then I think the third option was, why can't I have both, right? And so I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a twist on that. And for you to think about what's more satisfying to you when you're able to save time or when you're able to save money, right? And kind of thinking about what that difference is. So find a blank page in your journal, or you can use scratch paper. This is a good place if you want to use that little scratch pad that's in the weekly setup to just kind of jot some things down. Which is more satisfying, saving time or saving money, and why, right? And then what could you do this week to save more, either time or money, whichever that you decided that's more satisfying to you for saving. So I'm going to put on a song. I'm going to let you kind of write some things down, and then I will pop back in and check and see how everyone's doing. Again, feel free to use the chat. And see, yeah, so as people are like, I'm getting distracted from the chat, right? So use the chat as little or as much as you would like. All right. So I saw lots of really great discussion and things to think about with this question, right? This is a good wondering question, right? Because sometimes it's really quick to say like, oh, I'd rather save money. But then you think, okay, well, if I'm saving money, then that might mean that I'm spending time, because some folks were saying, well, I could save money by not ordering takeout, but then I'm going to have to use my time to actually make something to eat, right? So, okay, always kind of a trade-off. And it's interesting because, if you think about it, life is constantly about those choices, right? If I do this, what is it costing me? And so everything has some sort of cost, right? And so some people feel like it's worth it, say, for example, to hire someone to come in and clean the house, or someone to come in and, you know, do some different things, or paying a delivery charge to have groceries delivered to the house, right? But then that potentially hits in the money category. So, and, you know, Christy's saying time is precious. You can never get it back. A moment with a loved one is priceless. So I think for me, a lot of times it's the saving time piece. Like if I can make sure that my time is as protected as possible, then that feels more satisfying to me. But I've also kind of been on a trying to be on a little bit of a money saving kick this year and really tracking everything that I spend. And it's really interesting to kind of see where I'm spending my money. And so then I'm trying to do things like if I go to buy something, make myself take 24-hour time out before I buy it to decide if I really, really need it. Now, I'm not talking like groceries or those kinds of things, but, you know, some of those, the Facebook ads, right? We were talking about Facebook ads or Instagram ads or some of those things that pop up. So again, kind of thinking about, and, you know, and a lot of people were saying things like, it really depends on the day, right? Amanda's saying on a daily basis, I'd say saving time because I never feel like I have enough time to do what I need. But long-term, definitely saving money. I'm always worried about ensuring that we do enough of that. So again, constantly that balance of what's going on. Same thing Kathy said, it truly depends on the day. There are times I'm willing to pay for convenience and times when I hate the extra cost. Just depends on what I'm short on that day, right? So I think that's a really great, it's a good thing to kind of think about, right? And if you kind of write down like, what am I saving? I'm saving here, but that's going to have some sort of a cost here, right? It's kind of interesting when you think of it that way. So nice job with kind of pondering that particular question. I forgot in the introduction to introduce my stage manager tonight, Bailey. She is here monitoring the chat. She's going to be helping answering questions there. She's waving, Bailey. So let her know if there's anything that you need, if something is kind of happening or you have some questions and things that are, if there's any issues with as we go through. But so again, a fun prompt. And this is also a fun one to ask other people, right? Ask your significant other, ask your friends. This is a good, like a dinner table conversation, or it's a good question to ask kids, to get kids to start thinking about this idea of money versus time and what's the trade-off if I do one versus the other. What is that looking like? So get people kind of thinking about that. And it's interesting, right? To kind of, as you start to talk through, sometimes you might even change your mind mid argument of which one you think is more satisfying. And I'd be like, wait, actually, now that I think about it, right, money is more satisfying to me. So kind of a fun little activity to get you wondering and kind of thinking about yourself, kind of thinking about why do we do what we do? What do we think is important? What are our priorities? How do those things go? All right. So let's hop over to the meat of our social, if you will, the Wonder Journal starting on page 15. So this has 3 different boxes, and you're welcome to start with whichever one you want to as you're starting to journal. So we want to think about a time when you demonstrated wonder, right? So a time I demonstrated wonder. And honestly, if you're like, I can't think of anything, I know one time you demonstrated wonder was when you were wondering about which did you enjoy, which was more satisfying to save, time or money, just a few minutes ago, right? Or it could be wonder as in I saw something amazing and it was just, I was kind of awed by the wonder. Then a time when someone I know demonstrated wonder. And then to me, wonder means blank. So you can do whatever kind of calls to you with this page. So for me, I kind of typed in here just because sometimes my writing is a little scribbly in my journal and I wanted to make sure people could read things. So for example, I put a time when I demonstrated wonder. Anytime I watch fireworks, I'm always it's that ooh, ah kind of thing. Every time I'm in an airplane and it takes off, I'm always amazed that this big giant thing with all these people in it actually gets off the ground and then flies. Flipping on a light switch, right? Like technically I know how the light switch works, but I still think it's pretty amazing just to kind of flip that light switch. using Zoom over the time of the pandemic just to talk to people all over the world. I was on so many Zoom calls and got a little bit of Zoom fatigue, but it was pretty amazing and pretty wondrous. I was talking to people in Australia. I was talking to people in England. I was talking to different people with different meetings. And it was just this very, very wondrous thing to think it's like this real time conversation, right? I got to be honest, I'm always spectacle of wonder for me is twinkle lights. I love twinkle lights. This was one of my pandemic purchases. I got like 7 boxes of these solar powered twinkle lights, and I have them all over my backyard. My backyard looks like a little fairyland of twinkle lights. And I always am just so excited because it's very wonderful. Oh, people are putting like waterfalls. Awesome. So then when I was trying to think of a time when someone I know demonstrated wonder, I think for a lot of us, we think of children, right? Because children are very kind of there because everything's new, right? My nephews, when my husband had an automatic car lock, this was like way back when those were still kind of new, and he would kind of hit the little button and it would, honk the horn and the lights would flash, and they didn't know that he was doing it because they were pretty little. They were probably like 2 or 3. And so they thought it was magic, and they were just so amazed that this would happen. And then my husband also likes to pretend he can use the force. So he would like lower the blinds, or he would, open the sliding glass doors. And so the kids were always like so amazed. And then I found this really nice kind of quote from Rachel Carson, who, if you know her, she's the person who wrote Silent Spring many years ago, that was talking about how the pesticides were killing off a lot of birds, kind of an early environmentalist. But she has a book that's about instilling wonder. And the quote was, if a child is to keep alive, and pardon the pronouns in here, this is an older piece of work, but if a child is to keep alive their inborn sense of wonder, they need the companionship of at least one adult who can share it, rediscovering with them the joy, excitement, and mystery of the world we live in. If I had influence with the good fairy who is supposed to preside over the christening of all children, I should ask that their gift to each child in the world be a sense of wonder so indestructible that it would last throughout life, right? And think about yourself and when you are amazed at wonders. And I was reading lots of really fun wonders here in the chat. So spend some time. You can also, I found an example that was in Sonder Club. So I love people who do the really fun lettering in Sonder Club and post these beautiful kind of artwork lettering here. So this person had put holding baby Lily, a time they demonstrated wonder, a time when someone I know demonstrated wonder, and they had put the moon. And then there was a fun new word that I did not know, nova lunosis, which is basically stargazing, right? The state of relaxation and wonderment experienced while gazing upon the stars. So I thought that was a really fun word, a really great way, because a lot of us think about, we go outside, we look at the stars, definitely a sense of wonder. So I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to play a couple songs, work on these 3 sections. Again, if maybe one of the boxes doesn't quite speak to you or you're not quite sure, you can draw pictures, you can doodle, you can color on your coloring page if you want to. But again, this is your time to just kind of do what you'd like and fill in that page. So I will play some music. right. So lots of good chat discussions. I really like, all these different things that everyone is wondering about. I also can appreciate some folks are saying like, I'm wondering why this is so hard for me right now. Sometimes it's just because you're feeling kind of put on the spot with this, right? I often find that many of my greatest ideas hit me either while I'm driving in the car and I can't really write anything down, or I'm in the shower and I can't really write anything down. So it may be the kind of thing that this just kind of gets your brain thinking about it. And as you're reading what people are writing, it kind of helps get those creative juices flowing. And then maybe tonight or tomorrow or something, all of a sudden it will hit you and you will just, have a lot of things that you can write. But, sometimes this doesn't always resonate, right? Maybe wonder isn't the right word for you. Maybe it would be better if it was something more like amazement. What causes you amazement or something like that. So don't feel like you're doing it wrong or you can't do it if you're not coming up with something right away. That's absolutely fine to be in that place, right? But read through some of these comments that people are having. I love the comments about, I wonder how humans can all be so similar, yet also so different, right? And it's very interesting. And we have so many more commonalities sometimes than I think we have differences, but sometimes it is kind of interesting to see how that plays out differently. I really liked, Sherry had put all the water on Earth has been here since the dinosaurs. The water we drink is the same that the dinosaurs drank. How cool is that? Hoping that there's some good filtration going on there. But yeah, it's interesting to think, right? All the water that's here is all the water that's always here. It just evaporates and comes back down. And the whole water cycle thing that we learned in school, right? But we don't have to do anything. That's the other thing I think sometimes with wonder, I don't have to do anything to make it happen, right? Like the water evaporating, coming down, that kind of thing. I don't have to do anything. The light switch, I just flick the switch, it comes on. The airplane, I buy my ticket, I get on, and it does this amazing thing. I'm often amazed, like the wonder of the human body, the fact that it can do so many things, but then it's also sometimes really strong, but then also sometimes it's really fragile. And I know we have some folks in the Sonder fam who struggle with their bodies not doing what they want it to do. They're, in some pain or, it's not cooperating. I definitely notice the older I get, the more I have to say, yeah, my back hurts. And I think I must've slept wrong, right? Like that was never a thing when you were younger, right? You never slept. Like, how do you sleep wrong? But apparently sometimes I do. But yeah, the human body is a very interesting kind of thing, and how some people can do things with theirs and other people's can't. Talking about your dog's snack pouch will never seem to be full. My cats could probably eat forever. How can they be starving when we just fed them, right? Our pets are certainly fun. I also liked Erica talked about demonstrated wonder when set in a self-driving Tesla for the first time. That seems very scary to me, but said also was amazed, a bit in shock, and also worried we were going to crash. That would totally be me, but it is an amazing thing. Kelly, I'm right there with you. Glitter. I don't know how people can not like glitter. I love glitter. I always said if I had a superpower, it would be glitter, and I would just like glitter would shoot from my hands and glitter everything. A lot of people were talking about nature, right? So going to different national parks, Walnut Canyon in Arizona. I live by a reservoir, Cherry Creek Reservoir, which was man-made. Interestingly enough, my grandpa was in the Army Corps of Engineers who made it. And we actually have some pictures of him making it way, way, way back. But it's interesting to think like humans made that. That wasn't a body of water that was here originally. So always kind of all these different wonder things. So again, if you've got those boxes filled in, that's awesome. If not, you can always fill them in again later. And I do love the idea, like with our one example, just kind of drawing some things, doing some fun lettering, and some of our Sonder fam do some amazing lettering. I feel like that's something maybe for next year or something that I'll put in my resolutions, is to try to learn some fun lettering, but yeah, not right now. All right, not one more thing, right? All right, so I want to go ahead and move us along to the next section, which is the wonder exercise on page 16. So you should be able to just turn the page over and we'll be right here on this one. So again, very similar to what you've been doing. You've kind of got some of those different like times you experienced wonder, times you've seen other people experience wonder. You've got your definition of what wonder means to you. And so now think about, still kind of thinking about that idea of wonder. And childlike wonder seems to come from being new to the world, right? So a lot of wonder comes from just being new to a particular situation or circumstance or location, right? So many experiences at that stage of life for kids are novel, which is one of the reasons they say that time seems to go faster when you get older, is because there's not as many new things for you to kind of have this sense of wonder about. So things are all the same, so it kind of blends together. So think about ways that you can maybe find some wonder in the everyday things that you may have started to overlook. But there's something special about that first time we experience something, right? The first time we went to Disneyland, the first time we went to a national park, the first time we saw fireworks, those kinds of things. As an adult, what do you do to cultivate that wonder? Do you find that the knowledge, experience, and understanding give more meaning to things you wonder about, or do you feel like it impinges on your experience, right? So do you feel like because it's not new anymore that it's hard for you to experience that sense of wonder? I'm a knitter and I do lots of knitting. I haven't done any, I've been kind of slacking a little bit, but sometimes it's very routine, right? If I have a pattern that's very, very simple pattern, I can kind of memorize it. I can watch TV. I can do it while I'm passenger in the car, in the airplane, knitting, and I don't really think about it. So it doesn't necessarily experience that sense of wonder. But what's funny is my brother-in-law, every time he sees me knitting, the look on his face is like his eyes just always get really big. And he's just like, how are you doing that? You know, when he'll watch my scarf or my sweater or something kind of growing as we're sitting there. And he's just like constantly got this sense of wonder. And I've noticed sometimes if I want to kind of instill wonder back into my life, that I will pick up a different, more complicated pattern, something that's maybe a little bit different. He doesn't want to learn how to knit. He just wants to look at mine and be amazed. But yeah, so think about like, how can you do something you do that maybe feels routine or has kind of lost that sense of wonder? What could you do to kind of bring that sense of wonder back to you? So in this box, you can draw, write, or sketch about a time you experienced wonder as an adult. Yes, and someone had said, I think traveling inspires a sense of wonder. Absolutely. Every time I go someplace new, see new things. It was a little tough during pandemic, but we have actually been able to get out a little bit. But yeah, seeing something new and then kind of bringing it back, or talking to someone who maybe isn't from the same area as you and kind of talking about things you experienced when you were younger, how things have kind of changed. There's a book that I just found out about today that I haven't had a chance to read yet, but I was kind of looking through some of it, and it's called, now I can't remember the name of it. And I'll see if I can find it while I play some music for you and put it in there. But it's a, what if we were doing it wrong? So kind of looking at what's happening in current events, but then trying to look at it like from a future lens. And so you kind of do that, like now, if you look back to, remember, I'm not sure the age of everyone here. So, but a lot of folks know there was a time when there was this book that everyone would get that had everyone's phone number and address and name in it, right? And everybody got it in the city that they lived in. And you actually had to pay to not have your name in there. Everybody's name is in, the phone book, right? And there was the white pages and the yellow pages, but you could look people up, right? It was totally, everything was right there. And think about that now, right? People would be like, you don't want your name and your address and your phone number just out there for people to have, right? So, kind of interesting sometimes to think about things from the past and So think about, what are we doing now that someone will 20 years in the future look back and be like, I can't believe you were doing these things, right? So again, spend some time. I have a little picture here with the little amazed kiddo. But then I kind of put some different things that I try to do. I like to try new things, connect with nature. Nature is always a big sense of wonder for me. Keeping that lifelong learner mindset, trying to think, how can I look at the familiar with fresh eyes? Thinking about the idea of unity with the living world. A fun one, if you want to experience a sense of wonder, is how are things different at night? So what is it like on your back porch or in your backyard or in the park or somewhere at night versus during the day? How different is that? And what kind of sense of wonder potentially might that instill if you look at something that you normally see during the day, but you see that at night? And then a lot of people had mentioned national parks. Joshua Tree. If you haven't been to Joshua Tree, I highly recommend it. It's a very, very, it seems like a foreign land. The trees are so, it's just so different. The cactus and things, the Joshua trees, right, that are out there. So super interesting to see. We went and saw Devil's Tower because my husband's a big Close Encounters of the Third Kind fan, as am I. So it was kind of cool to go and see that. And yes, I definitely miss traveling. I'm hoping that can get a little bit better, but national parks, definitely a good place to be. And then there was someone posted in the Sonder Club today, actually. She got to meet her granddaughter for the first time, right? Had a new grandbaby. And so she kind of used this wonder exercise to talk about that. And again, kind of had some fun lettering and those kinds of things. Yeah, Stonehenge was a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be when I finally got to see that. So all those kind of different things to think about. So draw a picture, write a story, give yourself some ideas, type in through the chat. I know lots of folks are typing things into chat of things that they would do. But just that whole idea of a sense of wonder, how can you instill that in yourself now as an adult? What would that look like? Or maybe a time when you experienced that sense of wonder and kind of what that was like and what that felt like. All right. Well, believe it or not, we are at the end of our hour. I was having so much fun watching everything everyone was saying, that they were wondering, things that help them with the, kind of creating that sense of wonder, things like looking at magnified pictures of things. I always remember there was a magazine when I was younger that would always have something magnified and you had to figure out what it was. And I always liked kind of the drop. It was milk, like a drop of milk into the milk, and it makes kind of like this little crown when it splashes. Yes, highlights. Yes, that was what it was. But it was so cool because there were these close-ups, and you're like, "What is that? I can't, tell what that is." So, find that kind of sense of wonder. I saw. Let's see, there were some things folks had said. Jennifer had said, "I wonder how my kidney donor came to her decision to gift me one of her kidneys when she is a mother of 3 herself." Wow. Yeah, that is definitely a wonder, right? The wonder of a gift of generosity. Emma said, as a child, I really struggled with finding joy in reading. It was hard for me, so I gave up. Now, as an adult, I have really challenged myself to read on a daily basis. I have found so much joy and wonder in reading. It's fascinating to me how someone can create a whole world in their minds. And I am so glad that you found some joy in reading. I know a lot of people don't like reading. I have always been a huge reader. I've usually got 3 or 4 books going on. Sometimes I kind of mix them together, which is sometimes not helpful. My husband really likes nonfiction. I very much likes history, reads a lot of history, but I'm much more into the fiction realm and love reading it because it also creates a sense of wonder, right? And the more that you read and the more you can get into someone else's head, they've really kind of found that really helps with empathy and being a more understanding human being and getting along better with other humans when you can really kind of read and get into someone else's mind. Andrea says, in this time of having so much information at our fingertips, I like to look up random facts about things I see. It can be flowers growing or animals. I also often look up places we go to learn more about it. And that's how I cultivate wonder. And that's awesome, right? Of course, I remember back in my day, before there was the internets, we had encyclopedias. And that was one of the things that my parents always made sure that we had. We didn't have a lot growing up, but we always were getting these encyclopedias, like one a month or something. And I literally would just sit down sometimes and just kind of like page through it and be like, oh, what's this? This is an interesting thing. What's this? So super, super fun to kind of help build your sense of wonder. Vera says, my sense of wonder and seeing things from the past is my city library. You have to write your name on a card to check out a book, right? So that's always kind of fun to kind of see that blast from the past and kind of how things were and what, how they are now. I always think it's interesting. I put the name of that book that I was talking about, kind of looking at the present as if you were the future looking into the past. But I think it's interesting to kind of think of what are we doing now that people 20 years from now will think is strange and antiquated, and those kinds of things. So definitely kind of a fun piece. So hopefully you've got lots of great ideas for how you're going to cultivate that sense of wonder for yourself. And it doesn't have to stop with the month of March. You can continue on and kind of see how that goes and how you feel, right? The other thing too is maybe after this and after you've kind of written some things down and thought about that, how does it make you feel? How do you tomorrow, when you go out into the world or you log into the world, if you're working from home or you're, with your kids, taking kids to school, those kinds of things, how does that sense of wonder and tonight's activities kind of impact that? And what does that feel like? So hopefully everyone is in the Sonder Club. Either we have the Apple link for the app or the Android link for the app. You can scan those if you don't have those already. Also, this is the QR code to take the survey. So we read all of your responses on the survey, trying to, from everything from you liked the music or didn't like the music, or you'd like to see a book club or those kinds of things. Make sure that you, take some time and fill out that survey. Also, here is my playlist. I didn't necessarily write down the artists for a lot of those just because they were instrumental, but you should be able to find those. If you ever want to find some good instrumental music on Spotify, you can type in a name of a song and then just write the word instrumental after it. And then you'll get lots of different hits. And the cool thing about Spotify is once you start playing those, it will start giving you songs like that. So you can kind of curate your own fun playlist. So thank you all so much for coming. Also, I think Bailey put the link. So our YouTube, we will have the recordings for all of our socials up and available for everyone on YouTube. Give us a couple days to get those up there, but they will be there. Also, Bailey put in a link for the Sonder Social, the Sonder Summit. Too many S words. The Sonder Summit, virtual Sonder Summit. If you're interested in that, kind of asking some questions about that, you can fill that survey out. And then also, she also put the link for the Eventbrite with all of our different socials. We have them up through the end of April, I believe. So please be sure and sign up for any of those that you might like to attend. So again, thank you all so much for being here and for inspiring that sense of wonder. I'm very inspired by everything everyone wrote. It was a wonderful time for, to see. Oh, and I'll put the playlist back up there. I'll also take a picture of this and pop it into the Sonder Club so that you can see that in there. So have a great week, start to your week. And I will hopefully see you again soon in one of our socials.
Keep my hands on myself. Pick out dust them off, put them back up on the shelf. Kiss my little baby girl isn't me. Am I coming out of left field? Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I've been feeling it since 1966 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Got another mouth to feed. Leave it with the babies till the mama call the grave digger. Gone with the fallen leaves. Am I coming out of left field? Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now.